I recently did a video where I talked about what I missed from New Leaf and I hoped would have made it to New Horizons. However, I want to talk about some things that I would like for a future Animal Crossing game. I think that bulk crafting is an essential thing. Pretty much any life sim, farming sim, whatever that includes crafting has the ability to make multiple of the same item. Look at Hello Kitty Island Adventure, for example. It released without bulk crafting and cooking, however they did add that during an update for crafting and cooking. It would also be a lot easier to cook or craft from items in our storage instead of having to take things out all the time and craft from pockets. Again, I feel like this is a fundamental thing in a lot of life sims that include crafting. I don't know why Nintendo didn't add this, especially in the 2.0 update. That would have been the perfect opportunity for them to rectify the situation, as the community has been asking for this since day one. It's just not really that intuitive, but that's just my opinion. Another thing I would like is robust terraforming, assuming that we have this ability in the future game. I don't see why we wouldn't. In my opinion, they would be going backwards if they got rid of the ability to completely destroy and rebuild our island or town or whatever it is from scratch. Terraforming is great, but it gives us too much power. I would love the ability to have a sort of bird's eye view, sectioning the island off by acre. Similar to how we have the Happy Home Paradise plots and you can go into design mode while outside. You're building in a smaller space, but it would be much quicker and more intuitive than doing it block by block, placing items down block by block. And then sometimes the item doesn't even go where you want it to go when you place it down. It can lead to some very frustrating things happening when you're trying to build a space. And in my opinion, it just makes things more clunky than they already are. I don't dislike terraforming. I sometimes feel like it can be relaxing, but it's also very overwhelming, and it would be great if they did a complete overhaul of this in the future game. Another feature that I think we're lacking is diagonal furniture placement. It would look more natural to have chairs in a diagonal format, kind of making a little sitting area, especially putting them around a campfire or something outside. This might be kind of niche, but I'm used to when I played The Sims as a kid having the ability to place things diagonally. In The Sims 2, you had to do it by entering a cheat. In The Sims 3, it was built into the game without a cheat. And in The Sims 4, although I barely touched that game, and I only really own the base game and a few packs I got during the free sales, you can place stuff wherever you want. But not in Animal Crossing. Diagonal furniture placement has never been a thing. And actually, we weren't really able to do quarter tile placements of anything up until, I think, Happy Home Designer and the Welcome Amiibo update for New Leaf. That, of course, was brought over into New Horizons. But it can make getting around kind of difficult as you don't have the ability to scoot between furniture outside, which is something that was added in the 2.0 update of New Horizons and was available in New Leaf. Again, only indoors. Going along with the diagonal furniture placement thing, I really think it would be helpful if we could scoot between stuff that was placed half tile apart outside, but that's neither here nor there. I feel like some aspects of the island and people's layouts would look a little more natural if we could place things on a diagonal. In my opinion, having the ability to only place things on 4 rotational corners can make things look sterile. Maybe it's just me. Another thing I think would be cool is to have more fleshed out villagers. I know a lot of people complained about the villagers in New Horizons, as a lot of the personalities are very flanderized, and that's not necessarily wrong. I think it would be cool to have villagers as a buddy. Maybe have them help you collect resources if you're chopping down trees or picking fruit or whatever, so you're not doing it all by yourself. Because in the Animal Crossing universe, the player has to do literally everything by themselves. It would be cool, too, if villagers preferred a certain item or a certain type of item as their gift. I know they like specific styles and colors, but that really has to do with clothing, not so much furniture. However, I give my villagers cooked food a lot to try and get their photos. Either that or a couple pieces of non-native wrapped fruit or a giant clam or something. That's neither here nor there. I did a whole video about gifting in photos. It would be really neat if villagers liked specific things, and if you gave them that thing, their friendship would maybe go up higher. It will be easier to become closer friends with them, unlock the ability to change their catchphrase or whatever sooner, and also have a potential of getting the photo sooner than you had originally planned, simply by giving them their favorite item. This might be too much of a robust thing for Nintendo to do, because the villager personalities have gotten progressively more flanderized as the series has gone on. Again, this is just my opinion. If you think differently, even if you don't and you agree with me, I would love to hear down in the comments. Having a villager as a buddy, and also having the ability to give them their favorite thing for higher friendship, would be really cool. It would make our villagers feel more fleshed out, and like they they had something to do instead of simply doing idle animations all the time, or sitting and sleeping, or crafting and cooking the same DIY over and over again. Speaking of cooking, I want to talk about that. I love that they added it into the 2.0 update. However, I really think that it is lacking in some regards. We can make very basic things with just some flour and sugar, as well as brown sugar and whole wheat flour. And of course, you can cook with all of the fruits and vegetables that we have here. However, where are the festive cookies? I know that we have spooky ones. It would be cool if they had Bunny Day cookies. Maybe we could use some of the eggs that we dig up or find in the balloons to add toward our Bunny Day cookie recipe. For festive cookies, I don't know. Maybe use snowflakes or something. They don't even really have to be festive. They could just be winter themed. It could just be like a snowboy themed cookie. Something to go along with the spooky ones that we had that were added in 2.0. I think it's really odd that they only added cookies for one holiday in this game. Also, that we're not able to cook anything with the tuna that we catch, yet we can make something with the blue marlin. What if I wanted to make some tuna poke or a tuna sandwich or something? I can't do that, yet I can do it with the salmon. I know a lot of the recipes are inspired by Eastern cultures and Japan, as Nintendo is a Japanese company, and therefore Animal Crossing is a Japanese-inspired game in some aspects, and that's fine. However, we do have cultural representation for the Americas and parts of Europe and other things as well in some of the seasonal shopping items based on various holidays. I don't know, I guess I'm just asking for more cooking recipes. Like, what if I wanted to make a clam strip roll? You guys know I grew up in Massachusetts, I spend my summers in Maine, and I love clam strips. For those of you who don't know what they are essentially fried clams in strips, typically in a hot dog bun, as a clam strip roll. What if I wanted to make that in Animal Crossing? I could simply use a couple of manila clams and some flour to make the bread and the clams, and then ta-da! I know that's a very niche thing considering it's an American thing and it's a Northeastern thing, but I think that having more food options would be really fun. I know that you're probably sitting there complaining, we have too many things as it is now. It's really hard for me to try and find the last 2 recipes that I need because my villagers craft the same things over and over again. And I get you. I want to go into my next point, which kind of has to do with that. I think that if we have crafting and cooking again, which we most likely will, because again, why would they go backwards? They should prioritize newer things. For example, if you're looking for, I don't know, the wooden box DIY, and you don't have it, I don't think that your villagers should automatically give it to you as the next item that they're crafting, but I think that there should be a higher chance of you getting things that you don't already have. So when you talk to your next villager who's crafting, you might get a recipe that you do have, but you have a higher chance of getting the wooden box recipe. I think that if they made it guaranteed that you would get a new thing every time, it would make the game way too easy. And of course, we all know that villagers do duplicate crafting and cooking DIYs in order to encourage you to pay for Nintendo Online and trade with friends. I usually just end up tossing duplicates that I have or sending them in a letter to one of my friends, but I'm only able to do that because I pay Nintendo for an online subscription every year. My final point here that I want to go into is the multiplayer aspect of this game. It is so lacking. We have a lot of multiplayer things to do in other sim games, such as Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I'm not versed in Stardew Valley, but I know that that has a multiplayer aspect to it, and so does Disney Dreamlight Valley, to my understanding. Having the ability to play with friends is great. You can build community that way. Animal Crossing was a great tool as a community builder back when the pandemic was in full force, as people would have celebrations in games such as graduations or whatever, when they couldn't actually physically be with their friends and family to celebrate because of physical distancing. I really think we're due for a more robust multiplayer system. I hate having to navigate through a menu hell in order to go visit somebody, even to open my gates. When you are doing any form of multiplayer, whether it's local or online, you have to confirm with Orville a couple of times that you want him to connect to the internet or to turn the internet off if you're doing local play, and then go from there. And then don't even get me started when people are coming in and out of your gates or when you're going to and from another island, especially if you're doing a Treasure Island trip. It takes so long. The flight tracker, the loading screens, everything in between. It takes so long to get into an island and play with other people, and it shouldn't be like that. I know in New Leaf we took the train, again loading times were quicker, and even once you're on the island you have the chance of erroring out if somebody has a poor connection. I don't know why this is still happening in 2024. Granted, I don't think it's happening as much because people have abandoned Animal Crossing for other games, but it still does. It depends on your internet connection, and that's the issue with peer-to-peer play. Or maybe Nintendo servers are just awful. I don't know. Not only is it painful to connect and disconnect to multiplayer and navigate the airport menus, there's nothing to do. Yeah, you can go around and look at other people's islands and make up your own games, but there's nothing built in to make the multiplayer experience fun. You have to kind of create your own fun, which I guess is fine in a way, as it opens up the ability for you to imagine your own things. And people have done some pretty creative games with the items that we have already, but I want my minigames back from Tortimer Island so bad. Just the fact that they took that away is really upsetting, and I was hoping that when we got Cap'n back for his boat tours, that we could go with our friends, or at least with one of our friends. That's not the case. It's only you. Just like a lot of the things in this game are only single player oriented. Unless, of course, you want to get all of the fruit, in which case you do have to either trade with another player or go to a treasure island. And that requires paying for online. Same thing with the Dream Suite and the custom design code portal. The multiplayer experience, in my opinion, there's really not a whole lot there that encourages people to want to play multiplayer. The only real thing is, using Animal Crossing as an aesthetic simulator where you can go around and gawk at other people's islands, and I can do that in the Dream Suite too if I want. I don't hate multiplayer. I actually love Animal Crossing multiplayer a lot. I have fond memories of doing a lot of fun things with my boyfriend because we were in a long-distance relationship for a long period of time around the time the game came out, and that's how we would play together. We would be on a FaceTime call and play Animal Crossing, and we would go fishing or diving or whatever the case may be, look at each other's islands, see the progress that we've made, and it was fun. But there's only so much you can do before you get tired of it, at least in my opinion. Again, Animal Crossing holds a very special place in my heart, not just New Horizons, but the series as a whole. And I'm really looking forward to what Nintendo might bust out in the next iteration of the game, whenever we get the next console. As you guys know, Animal Crossing has only really been a one game per console release, meaning that we're not going to get another Animal Crossing on the Switch as it is now. The next time we will get an Animal Crossing will be in the next generation of the Switch, whenever that comes out. And it won't likely be a launch title either. Some people think that when we get the next Switch, which may potentially be next year in 2025, that Animal Crossing will come right out. To my knowledge, Animal Crossing has never been a launch title in its history. That might change though because of the amount of copies that New Horizons sold. We're talking millions and millions. I think it's the best-selling game for the Switch, or at least it was. I think it's still up there. And while there's definitely merit to that, I'm not going to hold my breath and get my hopes up. Yes, we are going to get another Animal Crossing in the future. It will come out most likely on the next iteration of the Switch console, the new generation of it. But beyond that, we don't know anything. Hopefully, it's at the same caliber but better than New Horizons. I hope they take the framework that New Horizons built upon and make it better. Add bulk crafting. Add fun things to do in multiplayer. Flesh out villagers. Make it less restricted, I guess? Maybe I'm just complaining about Nintendo. I don't know. This is not meant to be a hate video. However, I would love to hear from you. What would you like in the next generation of Animal Crossing? Please let me know in the comments down below, along with any feedback or suggestions that you might have in general. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!